everyone, and welcome to another episode of What is Mrs. Wallace Reading? So today I have a special guest star. This is Miss Ashley Ford. Everybody say hello to Ashley, and she's going to tell you a little bit about herself before we do some book reviews together.
Yes. So I'm Miss Ford, and I work for the Chester County Intermediate Unit, and I was the instructional media specialist, so that meant I got to work with all of the librarians in Chester County, and so I got to work with Mrs. Wallace, and we were also in a book club together where we read some really awesome books, so I'm super excited to talk books with you guys.
Yeah, so she's read some of the books that I've read in the last couple of weeks because last update was a couple weeks ago. It's been busy around here with book fair and everything like that, so I'm going to kind of update you on what I've been reading for the last 2 weeks. But Ms. Ford's going to chime in here and there on the books she's read, but she's also going to tell you about some of her favorites that she's been reading since we've been in quarantine. All right, so I am going to share my screen so you can see my wonderful Goodreads, which I have talked about before. If you remember, you can sign up for Goodreads. It's free. It's basically like book lovers' social media. Think of it that way. You can record books that you want to read, books that you are reading, books that you've read, and you can give them short reviews too. So obviously these are all books that I've already read. Okay. So let's start with the last time we talked. I had read Tales As Old as Time. So the next one I read was Truth or Dare. So Truth or Dare, and I get into it. For those of you who are mystery thriller fans, if you like the April Henry series or April Henry books, for example, you'll love Truth or Dare. It was a quick read, and I found out at the end of it, I did not know when I started reading it, that it's technically a series book, but okay, you can read the first book and only read the first book. It doesn't really end in a super cliffhanger. I feel like enough is resolved where you don't have to read the next book. But if you like a good mystery, good thriller, I definitely recommend Truth or Dare. It's about a group of friends who are playing this kind of like undercover Truth or Dare game, but then it gets bigger and this mysterious person starts to dare them to do these crazy things that would eventually ruin their lives, and they have to piece all these things together to figure out who the darer is. Okay? For me, it was a little predictable like halfway through, but I still liked it. It was a good mystery. All right, so the next book after that I read was Fangirl, and to give you a little heads up, I mentioned this in a previous video that in this book club that I am in with Miss Ford, we are doing a kind of quarantine bingo where we have a list of all these different books, not a list, or a bingo board of all these different types of books. For example, it could be a book about real life, or a book with a dress on the cover, or a book with a crown on the cover, and then I had to find a book that was set in college. So I read Fangirl. Rainbow Rowell, who's one of my favorite authors, she's amazing. She wrote Eleanor and Park, which is also an excellent book. She wrote Attachments, Landline, lots of really great books in there. Fangirl does take place in a college setting, and it is about a girl who writes fan fiction for a particular book series, similar to what people might do for like the Harry Potter series. This is like, not written by the original author, but some things that they think or they want to happen with some of the characters. And in fact, the name of the book that they're doing is called Carry On. And Rainbow Rowell did make a book, an actual full-length. Oh, look, there you go. Miss Ford has it.
Love Carry On.
Of Carry On. They have not convinced me to read it yet. I was not a fan of that part of the book, but I enjoyed the rest of the book as well. So it's kind of like she's one of a set of twins, and she's not a set, twins. She's one of a set of twins, and she is kind of figuring out who she is in that first year of college because she's kind of like the opposite of her twin. Miss Ford, did you like this book? What was your kind of rating on this one?
I did. I really liked this. I thought it was really relatable because the main character, Kath, she's really kind of shy. She's used to being with her twin all the time, and now she kind of has to go out on her own. And so I just think that's really relatable. And I love the fan fiction parts because it's kind of based on Harry Potter, and I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. So I loved that part.
Yeah, it is. It's very, after reading the first one, I was like, oh, this is very Harry Potter. So, okay. So the next, too many backclicks. The next one that I read, oops, now I have to fix myself here. Sorry, friends. Give me 1 second. The next one that I read was The Beholder. This is also one, when I started reading it, I did not realize that it was in a series. And so I got probably like, maybe like a halfway through the book, and I realized, I was like, oh, there's not going to be resolution to this by the end of this book. There's not like enough book left. It was a nice start to a series. I'm not 100% sure I'll read the next book. Like, I don't need to read it right away. It wasn't like, oh, I have to read the next one, like some series books are. I liked it. It was not quite a fantasy. It was definitely in that young adult realm. There were some fantasy elements to it, but it's about this girl who basically goes on a journey to find a suitor, but her father is sick back home, and her stepmother is kind of like this evil stepmother and has this whole alternative plot to basically it's not a spoiler, to basically like get rid of her. So she sends her on this like suitor mission to go find somebody to marry, but it's foiled in some way.
The cover is beautiful.
Yes, this is, and to be fair, this is where I judged a book by its cover when I was in Barnes & Noble, and someone was like sort of telling me about this book, and I just looked at the cover and I was like, oh, this is nice.
That's great.
This looks like a good book. So yeah, so it's a good book. I did enjoy it, but I don't think that I need to read the rest of the series. Like I mean, I could probably like spoil it for myself and read some reviews and be like, okay, that's what happens to her. But the first book was like, it was good. It was a lot of, oh, I love him, but I love him, and oh, I love him, and oh, but I really don't love him, and maybe that's the parts I didn't like, or maybe I did like it, but I don't need to read anymore. This was not one you read, right, Ms. Ford?
No.
I'm not doing a very good job of convincing you probably to read it. So.
Maybe not that one, but Truth or Dare I might pick up.
Yeah, so this one, The Betrothed, for those of you who are fans of this author, she wrote the Selection series, and a lot of you are really big fans of the Selection series. So this was very much like that. It was that kind of that idea that, you know, she grows up around nobility, and she catches the eye of the king, and, you know, will she get married to him? Oh, but wait, there's this other guy that she sees, and, you know, which one will she pick? This one is the beginning of a series. Once again, I don't know if I was happy about the ending of this book. I liked it. I am a fan of hers, and the selection was good enough for me that it was 3 books. I knew it was going to be 3 books, and by the end of the trilogy, I was like, okay.
And I feel like they're usually pretty light, quick reads.
They are. This is definitely a light, quick read. The world building for this particular fantasy was like just enough that I wasn't overwhelmed and that I could get through it quickly. I think I read this in 2 days. So it was definitely good. But I probably will not read the next one. I would not say that this is better than the Selection series. I still like the Selection trilogy more than this particular one. Yeah. Did you, Ms. Ford, did you read the second half of the Selection series, The Heir?
I got like 3 chapters in, and I just couldn't do it. It just didn't have the same feeling to me as the Selection, so I just picked something else up, and I never picked it up again.
The exact same thing happened to me. I got about halfway through The Heir, and I was like, man,
yeah,
I'm okay.
I'd rather just read the Selection again if I had to.
Right, exactly. Okay, so this next one is a book that I started reading before and put down. And then I was like, oh, I'll read it in quarantine. And then continued reading it and got probably about like 3/4 halfway through. And I was like, oh, I'm going to put it down again. So this is a cheat here because I technically did not finish this book yet. I plan to finish it. It's very heavy. I would argue that this is really on the line between young adult and being adult, not for like, you know, inappropriate content, but just the very heavy book. That's all there is to say. It is graphic because it takes place during the Holocaust. So the Librarian of Auschwitz is about a girl who is in Auschwitz, and she is taking on the role of kind of like this mini librarian where they have 4 or 5 books, like tattered and torn books, and they have this little school, and it's all based on a true story. So the heart of it is true, and it jumped around a lot between her past and some of the other characters, but it is a good read. It's very good. It's just it's dense. Something I do plan on finishing reading, but if you are a fan of Holocaust fiction, historical fiction, then this is definitely a great book to read. Similar to like, if you like Holocaust movies, you should watch Schindler's List. So this was a good book. I'm not finished yet, but so far it's good, but definitely one that you really need to like sit down and read. Really invest the time to read it and take it in. This came heavily recommended by Miss Ford and a couple other members of our wonderful book club. And it's The Cruel Prince. It is the first book in the Folk of the Air series, which I can't wait to read the second book because I loved this one. As you can see, I gave it 5 stars. I very rarely give a book 5 stars. Very, very rarely. And this one captured me from page 1. And it did a great job world building, just enough where I wasn't like, oh, come on, come on, come on. And I enjoyed how it wasn't quite resolved, but resolved at the end enough that it was like, I got to read the second book. So yes, Miss Ford, go for it without spoiling the second book for me.
The second one is one of my favorites. It's got a great cliffhanger, but I just love the fairies in this. Like, you get so many books now where like fairies are just playful and they're beautiful and everything. Like, these fairies are like bad and they're tricksters and they get up to no good, and I just love it. The world is like, you want to live in fairyland, but it's like, you know, you wouldn't make it. Like, it's great, you'd like to visit, but I wouldn't want to stay there. And Jude is just awesome. Strong female character that can take out the boys, which is always a fun thing to read.
And it's interesting that they talk about that crossover to the mortal world, because this does take place in like almost like I don't want to say a parallel universe, but like a parallel fairy world. So they do enter into the human world a few times. In fact, the book starts in the human world, and it kind of gives when they were all very young, and talks about what happens to their parents. It's the prologue, right? I think it's the prologue. It's very graphic. Woo!
Yeah. See, bad fairies though. Fairies are not supposed to be good and
it was like 5 pages into this book, and I was like, oh, so much blood. But it was good. It was, I mean, it was very good. But I like that they introduced us a little bit, but not too much of the human world into it, to see kind of that connection between the two a little bit, and how the characters can cross over.
Yeah, the character relationships are just the greatest. I love seeing them play off each other.
And it's hard. I was telling another member of our group that she actually a student who graduated from Collegium. I was telling her that I feel like every character I wanted to slap in this book the whole time. Something would happen, I'd just be like, oh, it was frustrating, but a good frustrating. So this is one that I highly recommend, and so does Miss Ford. Highly recommend, especially the second
one. And all the books are out, so you don't have to like wait for the next book to come out. They're all out. You can read them now. Yeah,
so you can get you can put a hold on it at the library in the digital copy, but it is very good. Definitely recommend this one. That would probably be, in like the last 2 weeks, this is probably my favorite. Yay. Was The Cruel Prince, definitely. This one, I was just telling Miss Ford, I just finished a couple hours ago. So this will be literally the last book that I read. And this is The Stars We Steal. This, I, on purpose, did not read a lot about this book. Someone just recommended it to me. So I didn't do a lot. Usually I like to look at some of the reviews of a book if it's new to me. But this one, someone recommended to me in a conference, and they were like, well, you have to read this book, definitely. So I was like, okay. So I didn't really know much about it, but I didn't realize it was going to be set in space. Like, looking at the cover, I was like, oh, okay. And then when I read it, I was like, oh, it's set in space. Okay. Which is one of the squares on the bingo board. So I was like, check it. But in similar to, I don't want to say similar to, but very much the romance style of like the selection, where there's like a group of people, and the whole purpose they're on this ship at this time is to meet their hopeful match to be married to, which in our day, in our world right now, this is like forever in the future. Imagine the earth is frozen over and they're all in space waiting for the earth to unfreeze, and they're on these different ships, and they all come together on this one, all the young people come together on this one ship every few years to have this season where they meet other people to eventually be married to them at the end of this. And I enjoyed this book because it had some LGBTQ characters in it, which was really great, especially as main characters. So it wasn't just like, boy meets girl, boy and girl fall in love. Yay! There was some different kinds of romances throughout it as well. So this is one you have read, right, Miss Ford?
Yes, I did read this because I love books set in space. And it's kind of slow. And like you said, it's like, it feels like an old-timey book. It's actually a retelling of Jane Austen's, one of her books. I want to say Persuasion, but I'm not like 100% sure because I technically have not read.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
That makes sense. No,
I didn't realize it when I went in it. And I was like, this seems really familiar because I've actually read another Persuasion retelling that was set in space. And then I was like, oh my God, that's what this is. So I like looked it up. And her first book, I want to say, is also a Jane Austen retelling. I don't know if it's Pride and Prejudice or something like that. I need to read more classics. Like my classics are lacking.
I don't know.
I enjoyed it, but like it's a little slow. Like it's very more, like the story is kind of spread out. So there's not as much action. But
a lot of intrigue more so than the action.
Yes. Yeah. But it's like the old timey, you know, whispering intrigue than the.
I gave it 3 stars because of that slow start. I agree with you. It took me a while to get into it, but I felt like someone had recommended it to me so strongly that I was like, oh, I gotta finish this. I gotta get in it.
Yeah. And the main character is one of those where you just want to like knock her upside the head.
Yeah.
Like,
and about halfway through, I thought this was a series.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is totally going to be a series. And even probably like 3/4 way through, I'm like, okay, this definitely can't be resolved by the end. And then it's like one event, and it's like,
and
oh,
it's like bam, wrap it up.
Okay, there it is. So that part was a little rushed for me. Like I feel like the first quarter was slow, and then like the last quarter was like bam, bam, bam. Yeah. So I don't know if I guess she could have dragged it out into a series to be like what happens next instead of having an epilogue. But I mean, it was worth it to read. I would not put this at the top of my quarantine book list, but it was definitely worth it. I like books that take place in space. So
yeah, and I might check out her other one just to see how that one is as well.
Well, now I'm curious. So in Goodreads, friends, there's a lot of clickable options here. So if you look at a page, you can, look at what other people have enjoyed. You can click on the author's name and find out more. So if I click on the author's name, it will take me to her page that has, oftentimes the author will have a website, it'll be on there. And then.
Oh, there you go. It said the first one, Brightly Burning, is Jane Eyre. So sorry, it's not Jane Austen, it's Jane Eyre.
Jane Eyre.
Is Brightly Burning. And then I think The Stars We Steal is Jane Austen's Persuasion.
Right. Okay.
That's
so awesome. There you go. Interesting. All right. So Miss Ford has read way more books than me during quarantine. As much as I've been trying to keep up, she reads a book a day.
I love to read.
She is gonna wait. Let me stop sharing my screen here. Actually, I won't stop sharing because I'll type in the titles of some of these books.
Excellent.
So give me the first book that you would recommend based on your giant reading list since March.
So one of the first books I read was Tweet Cute. And I actually listened to the audiobook of this one, and I love it. So it's, multi-point of view. So it goes back and forth between 2 characters. And one is Pepper, and her mom owns it's like a McDonald's, like a big branch restaurant across the state. And then her classmate, Jack, his family has like a little just mom and pop restaurant, and their Twitters get into like a Twitter war, and at the beginning they don't like realize that they are going back and forth with each other. But at the same time, there's also an app that was developed at the school that matches people up. And so they also don't realize that they are the 2 that have been matched by the app and have been chatting and like really liking each other. So if you've ever seen the movie You've Got Mail, it's kind of like You've Got Mail, but YA, and it is adorable and so sassy. Like the tweets that they send to each other are just hilarious. I'm sure they would make more sense to me if I was a lot younger too, because they talk about a lot of like memes and stuff, and I'm like, okay, I kind of get that. So it's super funny. I highly recommend Tweet Cute. And if you like audiobooks, the audiobook narrators for this one are great.
Yeah, I'm not a huge audiobook person because I have to like the narrator. If I listen to the first 5 minutes and don't like the narrator, I'm out.
Yeah, so, I agree. But they have good narrators.
All right, so Tweet Cute. I like this cover. The cover is cute.
Yes, it's adorable, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes. All right, give me another one.
I read Thorn was the next book that I read. You might have to put in Dauntless after it, because it's going to be a series as well.
Not this one, The Court of Mist and Fury. Oh, I know that book though.
Although I have read that one as well.
Dauntless, like that.
Like from Divergent. There you go. That one.
Oh, this, yeah.
So this is a retelling, a fairy tale retelling of The Goose Girl. So if you've ever read The Goose Girl by Shannon Hale, or if you've just heard the fairy tale of The Goose Girl, this follows along really closely to the fairy tale, but it definitely takes a different spin than Shannon Hale's Thorn does. I really enjoyed it, and what's really great is it says it's a series, but they're going to be companion novels. So like each book is a standalone in the world, so like you get your happily ever after at the end, but there will be more books set in the world about.
Are they connected at all or no?
I don't know. They included a short story at the end that like introduces the main character for
they're not out yet.
Book.
Okay.
And there was one character that kind of crossed over between the two, and it was like an elf character. So
kind of like The Giver.
Yeah.
Yeah, The Giver, I guess with the exception of like The Giver and The Messenger and Gathering Blue are all kinds of standalones in that world.
Yeah, but you might have characters that like cross over and come between. Yeah. So you're not going to follow the same two people, but they might show up, I hope.
But this is a good example if you happen to like the world that it's built in, then you get different stories from it, not just following one or two characters. It's cool.
Yeah. There's like a little bit of magic, not a lot of magic. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I liked it a lot. It's a longer book though, so it did take me a little while to read. I think it was like 500 pages or something, but it was good.
Yeah, Goodreads will tell you how many pages it is, when it was it's just published. Yeah, okay. I feel like I remember seeing a lot of hype about this.
Yeah, I enjoyed it a lot.
All right. I'm ready for the last one.
All right. All Systems Red.
Oh, Murderbot. That's right.
Yeah. So like I said, along with fantasy, I really like sci-fi. And this is another one that's kind of on the line between where like it's fine for YA, but it's also really kind of marketed for adults. And these are really short. I think each one's between 70 to 100 pages. Mm-hmm. And it is about a security robot who has like hacked the computer inside his head that like makes him follow orders. So, I mean, he still does what he's like supposed to do and takes care of people and things. But like in his head, he calls himself like Murderbot, and he plots different things, and he is super uncomfortable with people. Like he doesn't want to like look them in the eye. And for being a robot, like I said, he is so relatable. Like I cannot help but laugh out loud with Murderbot, but there is also so much action. Like, you know, they're on a planet and there are hostile creatures on the planet, and he has to save, you know, his customers, the people that have kind of like hired him to do this job. But they keep getting themselves into trouble, and it's his job to save them. And he's like, "Ugh, humans," you know, it's just hilarious. So
if you were to not compare, but if what other books might someone have read that they would like this one?
I don't know about books, but if you like the newer Star Wars movies, like Rogue One, the robot in Rogue One.
Oh, Rogue One.
Yes, that robot, you know how he's like so sarcastic to her and everything? That's pretty much Murderbot. Like if you like the robot in Rogue One, you would like Murderbot because
hey, how about this one to read?
Woo! And like I said, they're so short. There's 4 of them, and it's just hilarious, but also action-packed. So I love the Bot Diaries.
Another feature of Goodreads, you can click to see all the different series.
There is a new book coming out. That Network Effect is actually going to be a full-length book. So I am super excited for that one.
You're saying like these are shorter ones and that one. Okay. Yes. Nice. All right. So that was fun. I should do this more often.
I love talking books.
Listening to me talk on and on about books. It's nice to hear somebody else talking on and on about books.
Yeah, it's so fun.
Yeah.
And then when you post this on YouTube, can they like comment and tell what they're reading and things?
No, because it's made
for kids.
Yeah. But
Gotcha.
You can email me any suggestions that you want. And don't forget the Hunger Games book The
Oh,
new
yeah.
prequel just came out, and actually, since I finished The Stars We Steal, I can now start that one tonight.
I'm on Aurora Burning, and as soon as I finish that, I'm going to pick up Hunger Games.
Yeah, I actually, this is the bad part about having an e-reader with the library, is I had 6 of my holds all come in on the same day. And I was like, oh no, I can't read all 6 of these books in 14 days. So I kind of pushed off a few of them. But
Yeah, I do that too. I like that new feature where you can like just jump back to next in line.
yeah. So that was what Mrs. Wallace and Miss Ford were reading. Miss Ford technically since March, but me in the last 2 weeks. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope you do some reading on your own. And I will see you next time on What is Mrs. Wallace Reading?